Welcome to the Awakened Collective, where we explore the topics of love, spiritual consciousness, and our divine purpose on this planet. Join us as we uncover the truth that our thoughts shape our reality. Welcome to the Awakened Collective. I'm Rick Gregory, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. It's a wonderful day to be alive. And as I need to remind you always, you have never been separated from your Creator. You are the extension of your Creator's divine love on this planet, and that we have never, ever, ever been separated from one another. And I truly believe that that is the root of all of the darkness we see in our world, is that misunderstanding that we are somehow separated from one another. I have a very special guest this morning. And as you probably know from my last several podcasts and videos, Facebook videos, that we have been talking a lot about emotional intelligence and a journey that I have had along with many of my guests of the last several weeks. I've had on this journey of emotional intelligence with a group called Ascension Leadership Academy based in Austin, Texas. Originally I was invited by my son for over a year and finally decided I would do this thing and wish that I had done it a year ago. It has changed my thinking. It has changed my life. It has changed the way I see myself and the world. It really, really has made a significant impact on my life. And it was like a quantum leap or a quantum jump or a collapsing of a timeline and the amount of time it would have taken to really look at some of the shadows in my life that were keeping me from being the person that I was put on this planet to be. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more this morning with my special guest. But if you want to hear about what I just mentioned, you can check out our last 3 podcasts and get an understanding about this training, these workshops that we've been blessed to be a part of, where we get to say yes to wanting to see ourselves and how we show up in the world and look at our self-limiting beliefs, our self-talk, that inner chatter. And we're going to talk about that today too a little bit. Those things that sidetrack us and hold us back from who we truly are, our higher self. And therefore, what does it do? It robs the world. It robs the world of our being, of our purpose. We're here for a purpose. And it robs us of our joy and fulfillment in this life. So today I want to welcome Owen Abbey. And our title this morning, welcome, Owen.
Hello.
So
Thank you for
glad
having
to
me.
have you here. The title for this podcast is The Ripple Effect. So Owen will probably say that he's part of that ripple effect and is creating his own ripple effects now. He is a teacher and educator, and I want to say thank you, Owen, for that. And I'd love to hear more about what you're teaching and how you're helping folks. I have a daughter who's a teacher. I have a niece who is a teacher, and I see the passion that they have for what they do, even knowing what they get paid, which I don't think is anywhere near what it needs to be. So I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit of your story, how you got here, what this workshop training has done for you, what you're currently working on, all that kind of fun stuff. So Owen, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me, Rick. I'm a teacher based out of Annapolis, Maryland. I have just really recently begun my teaching journey. I taught middle school social studies last year, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and next year I get to move up to high school where I'll be teaching freshman world history and junior U.S. history. And I'm really excited for it. I love high school. I love working with older adolescents. I find myself kind of able to have a lot of really powerful conversations with them and really have a lot of strong connections with them. So there's a lot of joy that comes with working with middle school students. They are so funny. They are so full of life and so full of energy. But there's also a lot of joys of working with high school students. So I'm really excited to have this new challenge. But I'm also This is also going to be my second year teaching, and so I'm relatively fresh. I graduated college 2 years ago. I On this journey that we call life in the world of adulting. I don't necessarily have a lot of adulting experience. It's kind of like, you're it's the second teenage year of me being an adult or something like that. And so for me, I had spent most of these last 2 years really kind of like struggling to figure out where I fit into this real world, right? Where I only have these experiences of what college is like, and college is a bubble, right? You're not going to get real world experience necessarily when you're in that bubble of where I came from, 40,000 students that are aged 18 to 22.
Wow.
Um, and so I was really struggling with, like, how am I going to show up? Like, can I show up in a way that I am making an impact, but also um, really living my life, like my
Mhm.
authentic self. Um, and I was very fortunate that where I worked last year, I met a very amazing person who was a guest on your podcast last week, or
Whose
last
name I couldn't spell correctly for the
episode.
life of me. Kelsey?
Yes, Kelsey, and she was the person that went on this emotional intelligence journey first, and she was someone that uh, really, once she got back from her own journey, really stood for me and my journey, and really made a point to say that, like, oh, and I believe that this could benefit you. And I watched her change and I watched her grow. I saw a lot of these things that, you know, were didn't necessarily exist in its full glory before she left, being a thriving element of her life when she came back. And having that actual evidence laid out in front of me made me more willing to take the jump. And I'm so grateful that I did take the jump,
Mhm.
because I now have this deeper understanding of who it is that I am, right? Who am I in terms of a teacher? Who am I in terms of a leader? Who am I in terms of a human? What it is that I get to create in this world. I have so many things that I'm wanting to create now that I was scared to do so just a
Mhm.
year ago. And I think for me, what this experience has done, and what the experience that I've really internalized it as, is that I, Owen Abbey, am now fully showing up in the world that I am proud to show up in, where
Mhm.
I'm not regretting, like, I wish I was this yesterday, or I wish I could have been more active as a teacher last month. Like, no, I get to be my full authentic self every day, and because I'm living my full authentic self every day, I'm not living with any regrets about how I'm showing up. And I
Mhm.
think that's a real huge takeaway that I have.
You are one, Owen, that, really stood out to me in our group that as far as transformation goes, and so often we don't see ourselves as others see us. We learn that as well. But the change in your posture, in your face, I mean, to me, you're unrecognizable from the day you came in to who you are today. And that, I mean, that just speaks volumes of, and it's not because you just got some additional knowledge. That was an internal transformation, spiritual change, cosmic change, call it what you want, that manifests on the outward side because you just do not look, sound, act anything like the person that I remember walking into those rooms day one.
Yeah, like I will be completely honest, right? Like, I spent a large portion of my life very much hating myself. Really, really just saying that I am not worth it. I am not worthy. I am not someone that uh, deserves the friends that I have. I'm a burden to all my friends. Those thoughts, even with a year and a half of therapy where we were really working at those thoughts, um, they still lingered up until when I walked through those doors in May.
Mhm.
Um, like even with people that I consider my bestest friends, like my chosen family, like I still had doubts that like I could even go up to them and be like, "Hey, I'm feeling like crap. Can you help me?"
Yeah.
Um, because I just thought that I was burden on them. And what this experience has kind of allowed me to do and allowed me to transform is that all of those thoughts are crap, right? They're crap. And um, I got the experience where I got to really sit and say, no, I do love this about me. I love that about me. I love this about me. That if my friends were truly my friends, they would love to support me because they want, they just want to,
Mhm.
right? Because and I would do the same for them. And um, if they can't, that does not mean that they don't love me. It just means that in that moment that they can't. And really being able to reframe all of these negative thoughts to definitely more empowering thoughts, definitely more empowering just for my own self confidence,
Yeah.
um, has been, extraordinary and change in terms of how I present, how I talk, how I go and round all the spaces that I frequent. Like it's changed a lot of that attitude
Yeah.
almost.
I mean, word you used, I mean, it's like recontextualizing, what our experience was. And, we didn't, and we all, I think we share in that, that the negative self-talk. And I had to think about, where does that come from? I talked to someone recently who was saying, that she dealt with a lot of that, unworthiness. And then when you get into her story, you find out that, her parents basically told her they didn't want her, that she was a
Mm,
mistake. That they preferred another sibling. I mean, it was just you could see that. So it's our conditioning, right? That we pick whether it's and it's no one's fault. Everyone comes with their own baggage of things that when we're not looking at ourselves, we just carry the baggage from one generation to the next. But we pick up that stuff as a kid, and however we perceive it as a child, and we develop opinions and about ourselves that we carry with us. And until we can get to a point, you know I'm grateful that you're 2 years out of college and
mhm.
you're getting this, and here I am at 60 freaking 3, but it's okay, where I can finally, step back and take a look at where that shit came from, and, not be, entertaining those thoughts anymore.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where when I look back at like where does all this negative self talk come from, I think of it as just like little things built in over time, like just little tiny things that I could have interpreted differently if I had other skills, right, at the time. But when you're in fifth grade, you're probably not going to have those skills.
Yep.
Um, and so it just builds up like, oh, this person in middle school was mean to me. That means everyone is going to be mean to me. This person that I thought was a friend in middle school actually isn't really a friend to me. Ooh, I guess I don't really have friends, right? And then these all little things, they build up and they stack on top of each other like Legos.
Mhm.
And eventually you get to a point where it becomes really hard to smash the Legos because even if you do smash it, a lot of those pieces are still stuck together. You're not really deconstructing it fully. You're just making it into smaller pieces of the same thought.
Yep.
And I think for me, what's really what I'm really grateful for with that is that now that I have this awareness, right now that I have this knowledge and these skill sets that I'm gonna be like, oh no, we're gonna deconstruct this and let's really smash them. Like no one's gonna be able to use these Legos anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I'm at a point where I can sit and look at my own future, right? And I'm 23 years old. I have a wide future ahead of me. I can sit there and say that I am now doing all this work so that my future family doesn't have to do the work that I'm doing at the same level,
Mm.
to the point where I'm choosing to frame it in a way it's like, will there be shit that comes up that they might have to process and they might need the skills of emotional intelligence for? Absolutely. I think everyone should have the skills of emotional intelligence. But I don't want them to have to really sit and pull apart these negative thoughts. If I want them, I want to be a person that's like creating positivity for them, that's creating an environment for them where they can develop these emotional intelligence skills as just practice and reps and not out of necessity to backtrack and heal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
that's
I
great.
think that is kind of where I'm my own personal mission in life, my
Mm.
own what's guiding me forward.
I love that. That is perfect. And while we're on this topic, I would just thought maybe this would be a good time to talk about, Owen and I had done this exercise together, and where you write yourself a letter, and you from your ego, the ego that tells you that you're no good, that that you're going to amount to nothing. That ego, you write yourself a letter from that ego. Um, and then in turn, when you're done with that letter, you write yourself a letter from your higher self. Um, and this is taking some vulnerability, but I was going to ask if you would share the letter that you wrote. I know that there are folks out there who will identify with it because we share that kind of negative mindset and talk about ourselves.
Yes, I will. Let me just pull it up for a second. But it is one of those things where um, the exercise was really, really important for me because I got to um, really sit with, oh, this is hitting way too hard. Like it is. Those feelings not only exist, they have always existed, right? But they just existed on a visceral level. And so be able to like not just write it out, but to write it out and be almost give the middle finger to it,
Yes.
um, was a really powerful experience. And
And,
so,
before you read it, you
mhm,
mentioned a memory that you had, of a friendship that wasn't really a friendship, and, people might hear something like that, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, get over it." How old were you? And, I'm 63, and I have a memory, that I have given the middle finger to, and it's no longer has any power over my life, but I had a memory of being 9, 10 years old on a paper route where I went to a house accidentally to the same house a second time to collect in a particular week because
mhm,
it's a long story, but I got confused. I was a kid. And I heard a gentleman answer the door, and I said, collecting, all excited because it was collection day. And I heard his wife in the background saying, that son of a bitch. I paid, and she was just so angry. I paid him yesterday, like I intentionally was coming there to try to get more money out of him. Do you know that I drove my
mhm,
bike that day up to where I picked up my papers and quit? I was so,
mm,
and that feeling of you are so stupid, Rick. How could you do this? Those kinds of things, if they're not dealt with and you still remember them, they're still hanging on and they're still affecting who you are and how you think today.
exactly, exactly. And so I do have it pulled
Good.
up, and it's basically, this is a lot of this kind of negative self-talk that I had talked about that's popping up. So here we go. Owen, you are not worthy. You are not worthy of love and success. You don't deserve the people in your life. You are lazy and they see it. You are not a leader and they see it. They constantly judge you for being needy and asking for help. No one wants to help you. If you think even remotely for a second that they do, you are so wrong. You are a burden to your community, and for the sake of everyone else, you need to keep it to yourself. I promise you, they don't want to support you at all. And so, if you think you have any support, you're wrong. Deal with it.
Mm. Yep. And, I know, but there are folks out there hearing that can identify with a lot of what you shared. And here was mine. Dear
Hmm.
Rick, you are a fraud, and everyone knows it but you. You lie to yourself when you think that you could actually make a difference. Your life will amount to nothing and have no impact. You're better off putting your head in the sand and hiding until it's all over. Save yourself the embarrassment of proving everyone else right. And go away. Be silent. Hide. Just quit while you think you're ahead. No more.
No more.
And
Right.
so what's your higher self letter?
Well, my higher self letter, that one um, is, oh, sorry again. I think for that one, um, it's, ooh, the higher self letter came from this place, from the heart of really just fully understanding um, what it is that I value the most. And so um, it is, Owen, you are an unbelievably kind soul. The care you have for people and the desire to support them is what makes you a rock star. You are funny, you are heart centered, you are joyful. You light up the spaces you enter because that is the energy that you create. People love being around you because you radiate love. You bring smiles to people, and they walk away with a higher level of joy than ever before. I am so proud of the human that you are because you are a change maker. You will touch so many lives because you care, because you have empathy, because you are the wind that pushes people forward. I love you.
Wow. I can relate so much more to that for you than the previous one. It actually fills my eyes up, just hearing that because that is who you are. Mine was, Dear Rick, wow, your life screams victory every single minute. Where did the old you go? I love this real you. Your intuitive thinking, your caring heart, your joy, compassion, passionate giving, your free spirit is setting others free to be their true selves. Everywhere you go, the world transforms around you. The universe is obviously rigged in your favor and thanks you for saying yes to life. Doesn't it feel better?
Oh,
We
yeah.
spend so much time in our heads. It takes just as much energy to think up the negative crap when we could be spending time speaking those things that are true. Those things that are true.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you don't realize how much energy you're wasting just repeating all the negative stuff in your head,
Mhm.
right? It makes you tired, it makes you lethargic, it makes you not want to do anything because you're spending all this energy and all this time just thinking
Yes.
through all these negative things. When you shift that and when you break that cycle, right? I have found myself wanting to be like, yeah, no, I'm going to go and do this day trip, or oh, I'm going to go ahead and walk 3 miles, 4 miles today. I'm going to go and do XYZ because now I have this new level of energy that I haven't had before,
Mhm.
mainly because I was just so exhausted from hating myself.
Yep.
And there's no reason that I should be spending that much energy on this negative self talk where there's so much else in life where I could be spending that same energy
Yeah.
on.
And the title of this podcast being the ripple effect. There is a ripple effect whether we are in negativity, like you said, the ripple effect of how it affects us, and how we see the world, and not wanting to leave the house and not thinking we're worth it, and that same mentality that we're dealing with has a ripple effect to the people around us. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sure you've been around folks that are negative,
Oh, yeah.
and and you can feel that, and it's like a ripple effect. So we get to choose today what kind of ripple effect we're going to make.
Yeah. Like, I'll be honest, before I left for ALA, there's a period in time, I would say about from like February to the end of March, where I was just a complete negative mess. Um, and I was more depressed than I had been before. I was more anxious. Like I was not living a good life at that point.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different reasons as to why those feelings built up. Um, but what actually resulted from that was a negative ripple effect, right? And I had spent so much time in my school year where I was so focused on building relationships that at the drop of a hat, right? Once I started internalizing all this negativity that I was feeling, this depression that I was feeling, that I wasn't being able to get rid of, that I didn't know how to get rid of, it went into my teaching and screwed up a lot of relationships that I had with students there because I was acting in a place of just being easier to get ticked off. I was not the effective leader that I was originally. I was doing a lot of things where I was not being great at. A part of that can be attributed to being a first year teacher and learning on the fly, but a part of that can also be attributed to the mindset that I held.
Mhm.
And so when I came out of this container of emotional intelligence, I really shifted gears and I really shifted trying to be more positive. And it was noticed, right? Like students point out, like, "Oh, Mr. Abbey, you're actually in a good mood today," right? And it's heartbreaking to hear that,
Yeah,
but also it's also one of the biggest pieces of evidence that you can get in terms of your own transformation because children do not lie.
that's true.
Children will not lie to you. They will not do things and they will not say things to you that they don't actually believe in,
Mhm.
right? Um, and it's to a point, right? There's people pleasing children, teachers' pets, and whatnot. But in general, right, when it comes to younger children before you get into high school, they're not going to uh, regulate the comments that they say to you. And when I heard that, Mr. Rabbit, you're actually in a good mood for once. While it did break my heart, it was definitely the thing that was like, okay, no, this is me now putting in positive
Mhm.
energy into the world. This is what the other side of what a good ripple effect looks
Yeah,
like.
it's evidence.
And it was truly like that feeling was where I was like, okay, no, I'm going to latch onto that and create that and build that moving forward.
Awesome. I mean, ripples are energy, right? We are energy. And, we're always putting out some kind of energy. I love this quote, and I couldn't find out who wrote it. It was a Facebook like meme. I even Googled
Mm,
to see if I could find the author of it, but it says there is a ripple effect to everything. Everything you think, say, do, feel, choose, believe, and be. You either cause it, create it, call it forth, choose it, or allow it. I just really like that.
yeah. It's really powerful in the sense that like every action that we take in life will have some sort of ripple effect. And sometimes it could be very minor and sometimes it could be very major, right? But like a ripple effect could easily be like, oh, I'm going to decide today that I'm going to order a chicken sandwich from McDonald's, right? And that decision, right, is minor, minuscule in the grand scheme of life. But what I'm doing is that I am, providing money to an establishment that is paying someone to work, which I'm giving them money to build their life, right? And so that is still a ripple effect, right? You're funding your local economy in a way. And then there's these large scale ripple effects where you are changing your ways of being, right? You're learning about your ways of being and learning how you have shown up in certain situations and have affected the people around you versus uh, going into an experience like ALA where you learn about your ways of being and now you could go in and change your ways of being again to have a different ripple effect.
Mhm.
And sharing your story, right? Sharing these experiences, that's one of the best ripple effects that I think you can create as a person or as a leader is that I get to just sit here and tell my story, and maybe that inspires one person to be like, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I want to go ahead and do that. I want to go ahead and make that change for myself. I think that would be awesome to see me do that." and then it builds, right? Because then that person can be a ripple effect for someone else in their life, and so on and so forth, and then you're just building a tidal wave.
That's right. I mean, you look at the people that have changed, so many lives, just starting with a few, with one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus started with 12. I mean,
Yeah.
we're still talking about it today. So there was this other quote too that I really liked. It says, "What we don't deal with from our past, we leave to our children as an inheritance."
Mm-hmm.
I heard that, but I thought that was pretty powerful as well.
Yeah, that's really powerful, and that's a really, heavy thing to think about. Like if you have kids or if you don't have kids, even because that's for a lot of people my age in particular, there's a weight that we carry, usually invisible, that makes us decide whether or not we really want to have kids or not. And there's this trend in the world where a lot of young people are saying no to families, no to having children. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but a lot of it is just we carry a lot of the weight, and a lot of us don't know how to take that weight off our shoulders.
Hmm.
And because of that, because we don't know how, we think it's impossible. Um, I know I felt that way. I had before doing this work. I was like, yeah, I would like kids, but it's like, oh, there's just a lot that I have to process, and I'm not ready anytime soon. And who knows what being ready actually looks like. Um, and for me, it took a lot of the work to realize that, like, no, I want this, and I'm ready to make sure that all the concerns that I have don't happen. But for a lot of young people that don't necessarily get to interact with this work, or don't get to interact with this work yet, um, they sometimes don't see any other option in terms of starting a family and say that it's just not for them, and they don't think that they can because they don't want to pass on all the trauma that they haven't fully processed yet.
Right.
And for a lot of people, it takes a long time to process that trauma. And it's one that I think is an interesting conversation to have of like, how can, if there are people that want kids or want families, but are not doing it because they don't want to pass down trauma, how do we get the tools to them the
Yeah.
fastest?
Yeah.
And that's a big conversation.
Because isn't that again just another ripple effect of that
Mm,
thinking, that mindset that is now affecting, people's decisions on having families, because of that, like you said, the work that we need to do. Um, this is a Lao Tzu quote that I really liked. It says, "If you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self transformation."
yeah.
That is where the greatest, most powerful ripple effect, positive ripple effect, I think, can happen.
Oh, for sure.
So, what are you working on now? Oh, and you mentioned briefly about doing your own podcast with Kelsey, or I'm not sure, but I want to hear what you got going on.
Yeah. So we there's a lot happening over here in this neck of the woods. So we are. I am a part of a tutoring organization, a small tutoring organization that was put together by our dear friend Kelsey Woganmuth, um, and her, myself, and our other partner in crime, Taylor Morris. We are starting our podcast that's going alongside with Sprouts Learning Hub. We're going to, start recording here in the very, very near future with a podcast episode, hopefully getting released by the end of next week, or this week rather. Um, and we're really excited about that, kind of diving into the world of education and a lot of our stories and related to education, and a lot of the differences and little intricacies that come with being teachers and the power that education has in shaping our future students,
Mm.
um, which is really exciting. Um, Also, like you, I am in the middle of writing a book. I am currently writing a fiction fantasy book that I'm very excited about. I'm very excited to see where this writing journey takes me. I love writing. I've always thought that it was really fun. And so to be able to dive into that is
Awesome.
really cool. And the last thing that I would just like to talk about is that I am in the process of really diving into starting a nonprofit for really spreading awareness, specifically to adolescents in my area in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, specifically talking about eating disorders. I'm someone that has had an eating disorder, that's still battling an eating disorder currently. And I know that there are so many people and stories out there of going through that experience alone, especially at a young age. And so I'm creating an organization that is meant to provide not just awareness, but storytelling, connection, and community to people where if they feel like they are struggling and don't know where to turn to get support for their eating disorders, that we can be the middleman to help them get that support and to really just allow for our community to look after kids and make sure that kids aren't going through these battles by themselves. Um, and so, if anyone listening has any experience with starting nonprofits, I would love any advice or help or experience that you would be so willing to share. It's going to be a great opportunity, great journey, and I'm really excited for that.
I'm excited too. How can they reach out to you, Owen, if they do want to give you some information or hear more about what you got going on?
Yeah, you can reach out to me either on Instagram, which is at Owen underscore Abbey, Abbey 22, or you can email me at coabby22 at gmail.com.
Could you do me a favor and once we are done here, could you put it in the post on Facebook underneath this video
Yep,
as well? Um,
absolutely.
and any other information you want to provide for us, and when your podcast gets started, would like to know about that. Would love to have you come back and talk about your nonprofit when you're
Mhm.
up and running and get the word out. um, you're a gift to the world, Owen, and I am so grateful to get to call you my friend today. So proud of you and amazed at your transformation, and so excited about all of the people in your life directly, the students you're teaching, who are going to experience that ripple effect and whose lives are never going to be the same just because you said yes. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you, Rick. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
that. So, and if you'd like to reach out to us, we're here as well. If you want to hear any more about Ascension Leadership Academy, this emotional intelligence journey, you can hear from Owen. You can reach out to him. You can reach out to any of the guests that I've had on in the last several weeks. You can also reach out to me on my webpage, which is theawakenedcollective.org. It has links to all my social media, my email, along with coaching services, including a complimentary one-on-one call. There's books I've written, books I highly recommend that you read, all sorts of good stuff. And I would love, love, love to hear from you. I want to thank my special guest, Owen, again. I want to thank Daniel and Audio Alchemy Productions for the gift that they are to the world. And I would like to close with a quote that says, "When we focus our energy towards constructing a passionate, meaningful life, we are tossing a pebble into the world, creating a beautiful ripple effect of inspiration. When one person follows a dream, tries something new, or takes a daring leap, everyone nearby feels that energy, and before too long, they are making their own daring leaps and inspiring yet another circle or another ripple effect." And that's from Christine Mason Miller. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, my friends, love and kindness always.